Hello and welcome back to the Coder's Legacy channel. In this video, we'll explore how to use Selenium with the Unittest library. Unittest is a library that's used for unit testing, as the name implies, meaning we test an application feature by feature, unit by unit, function by function, class by class. So that is what unit testing is all about, automated testing. And Selenium, as you know, is a UI testing library. So in this example, in this video, we'll discuss a very practical scenario where we test out the login feature for a website. This is the website that we're going to be practicing on in this video. It's a nice website used for automation practice. So as you can see here, there's a login page and then there's a username and password given over here that is going to log us in if it's correct. Let's just do this once ourselves before we try it out with Selenium. Okay, we click submit and this has logged us in. Okay, so I'm going to log out now and I'm just going to take this. Actually, wait, not yet. So I'm going to come back here and we need to actually begin writing out our code. We need to set up our Selenium application. So what is this? Well, I have some imports over here. First of all, this is a WebDriver manager. It's a library that is very useful for initializing Selenium, because you know Selenium requires web browsers, web drivers. You need to have, like, if you want to use Chrome, you need to have the Chrome driver installed. You want to use Firefox, you need to have the Firefox driver installed, so on and so forth. Now, what WebDriver Manager, this library, what it does is automatically downloads and maintains these drivers for you. So you don't even have to worry about like updating it over time, because you know your Chrome updates. You need to update your WebDriver as well by downloading a new one. So this is a very convenient library. That's why I use it. So that's what I'm going to be using in this video. Okay, you can install it using pip install WebDriver Manager. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. So what I'm going to do is set up some functions. The first function that we're going to define is setup. You can see that it even shows up in the IntelliSense. That's because these are like predefined function names. It's important that you keep this function name the same. You call it setup because this is a function that Unittest will automatically look for and call when we run our unit test. Okay, so when I run unittest.main, this function is going to be executed in the very beginning and it's going to run any initialization code. So we're going to write some initialization code in here for Selenium. We're going to do Chrome service, then executable path. Now this part of my code is a little bit unique because I'm using WebDriver Manager. You guys can do it however you want to, or you can also use WebDriver Manager. Then I'm going to do self.driver, then webdriver.chrome, then service. I'm going to pass this in here. Okay. Just in case you're wondering what this is doing, it's like it is downloading and installing the driver for Chrome in the necessary location. And then I'm initializing the driver with that code, with that service. So what I'm going to do now is define a tear down function. Once again, this shows up in the IntelliSense. This function is the exact opposite of setup. Setup runs at the very beginning, tear down runs at the very end. So over here, we're going to do self.driver.quit. This is a function that you should call whenever you want to destroy your Selenium driver object. Okay, so this is our structure done, our base code. Now what we're going to do is begin defining some tests. The first test is going to be called test successful login. Okay, now you might be wondering whether this is also a predefined function name. No, it's not. Any function which you define that begins with the word test is automatically going to be regarded as a test function. So just remember that when defining your own tests in here, always begin with the word test. Okay, if I include test anywhere else, like over here, it's not going to work. Okay, so be sure to include it at the very beginning. Now what we're going to do is this is where we write our stuff. So self.driver.get, we're going to get this page. Okay, Then what we're going to do is begin finding the elements, right? Begin finding the appropriate elements. So let's take a look at this. What we have here is input HTML element, and it has the ID of username, and the password has the ID of password. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is very easy. We're going to do find element, and I'm getting a type hinting warning because I didn't pass in self, so I'll fix that. Now I'm going to do by, and remember to import this over here. Okay, by ID, and ID is username. Okay, so username input, or let's just call that username. This is the username element. Okay, this is a reference to this element. Now what we're going to do is username dot send keys, and over here we are going to send student. That was the username, right? This was the username, and we'll copy the password because we need to use that soon. So I'll do password is equal to self.driver.find element by ID. And what was the ID for the password field? It was password. So then we'll do password dot send keys, and then we'll pass in the password. Okay, now this will log us in. Now what we need to do, the entire idea behind testing in Selenium, it kind of hinges on this concept. How do you know that we have logged in successfully, right? That is the question. So what is almost always done, as far as I know, is that when you log in, like I click submit, how do you know you log in? Well, as a human being, you can see that there's a login page over here that says logged in successfully, right? So that is actually the same way we're going to tell our Selenium test bot to find out whether we've logged in successfully or not. We're going to say look for example, look for this text. If this text is found on the screen, that means we have logged in successfully, right? Because if this text is being displayed, that means we've logged in successfully. So let's take a look at this. And you can do the same thing, by the way, with other stuff. You can do the same thing with the log out button. That's also a very common thing. Sometimes there's a login button when you haven't logged in, and then when you have logged in, there's a logout button. So that's also a very common UI element to use to figure out whether you're logged in or not. Okay, so this is an h1 tag, and there's always only one h1, so this is a unique element. It's a good element to use as an indicator as to whether we're logged in or not. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to come over here. Actually, we totally forgot. We need to actually click on the button, right? We won't log in without the button. So even if I send these values in, we haven't logged in yet. We need to press the button. So we'll do button is equal to self.driver.find element. Let's find the button, and hopefully it will have an ID as well. It does. Good. Submit. Okay, if it doesn't have an ID, then you need to use some other means of finding it. Like you can use XPath, for example. And let me just show you, just so you don't think I'm doing only one thing. So how do we find this? So what I can do is // button, okay, the name of the HTML element. Then we can find it by the class. That's just one way of doing it. Okay, there are like 5 different ways I could think of for finding this button. This is one of them. The other way, we could do it with the ID. Then you can use it using a CSS selector as well. Let me just double check. Okay, looks good. So now we'll do button.click. All right, this clicks on the button. Pretty cool, right? It's just one function. Now we're going to imagine that we've logged in and the page has changed. Okay, we'll just put a sleep in there so that, to let the page load. Then we're going to do title is equal to, we'll try to find that h1 title now. So we'll do find element, then we'll use XPath. XPath is personally my favorite. So how are we going to find it? Well, we'll just do this, and then /text, I think it was like this anyway, is equal to, I don't think there was a slash. and this is equal to will come over here, single quotes. Then we're going to do logged in successfully. Also, we don't need to do this actually because there is only h1, so there's only one element that can possibly be returned. But I just want to be safe. Okay, so I'm finding the h1 with this text. So what I'm going to do now, this is the crux of this video. What we're going to do is assert true. Okay, this is the unit test part of the code. Then we're going to do, by the way, the self is the where you might wonder where the self is coming from. It's because of this, by the way. Okay, so make sure you do that inheritance part. Now we're going to do title dot is displayed. This is a Selenium thing where it checks to see whether it's displayed or not. Okay, if I've logged in, it should be displayed. If not, it won't be. And this is an error message that we can put. So this will say something like not logged in. Not. It is an error message, right? Yeah, pretty sure. So not logged in. And that's pretty much it. Let's run this. And the cool thing about this is that you can actually see the stuff going in there, and you can see it load, so you actually know it's working. And there we go. Now this should close, and Unittest should tell us okay. There we go. Perfect. Says okay. All right. Now that was pretty cool. I'll just show you one more thing now, because you've defined a successful test, but you should also define a unsuccessful test. You know, because you know that you're logging in correctly, but you should verify that incorrect credentials should return false. Okay, that it should not work. So I'm going to make an unsuccessful test. I've just copied this, and what we're going to do is change. Is there anything? Assert is displayed. So return a bool, right? So we should say not. I just needed to confirm that. So we'll say not, and we'll swap out the error message, invert it to user logged in with incorrect credentials. Now let's actually make those credentials incorrect. Let's change this to password 1234. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's run this, and this test, because it's going to run because it starts with test. So now 2 tests are going to execute. This is test 2. Alright, so this failed, and I realized why. That's because Selenium, well, it's not going to handle this gracefully. If it didn't find it, it's going to throw an error, unfortunately. I kind of forgot about that part, so we need to change the way we write this test. So what we're going to do, since we know this is going to be unsuccessful, or at least it should be unsuccessful, well, what we could do here is write h2, okay, because this, correct me if I'm wrong, is in h2. Okay, so it's called test login. Did I get that right? Is that a capital L or not? I don't think so. So it's like that, and we'll change that. Okay, and I think this is good. Wait, there's an extra bracket. There we go. This is our first test executing. So the second test basically relies on the fact that the user is still on the login page. That's why we're checking for the heading in the login page. We're basically relying on the fact that the login page will keep him there, not send him forward to the successful page. This is test 2. Alright, So it tried that, and we're still stuck there. Good. That means it worked. So this is now done, and both tests have executed successfully. Okay, great. So this is where we're going to end the video. Pretty good. We tested out 2 different cases. I just want to point out one more thing, which I think you guys will be interested in. It's also going to speed up your tests, okay? Because currently this is taking quite a bit of time. It took a minute for just 2 tests. But if you guys want to learn how to speed this up, what you can do is try out a headless mode uh, where you don't generate the browser. Okay, it executes internally. So it's a pretty cool thing. It actually speeds up your tests because it doesn't have to generate a browser every time. So you guys can take a look at that. It'll speed up your code a lot. I'll include a link to it in the description below. Alright? See you guys in one of the later videos. Bye then.